When it comes to conclusions, most people don't know what to write. So often they sum up the story in some bland way, in some vague way, using the word message. Now notice here how I don't have the word message at all. I've got the writers criticizing or exposing, revealing, humiliating, etc. These things are all largely negative verbs, whereas message, the word, is neutral, which is why it doesn't work a lot of the time when you use it in a conclusion. So let's have a look. This is my conclusion for our practice model answer of Mrs. Birling. Now, Mrs. Birling will be so similar to all the other upper class characters. So this could also apply some of it to Gerald or Mr. Birling. All right, now notice it's really much shorter. There are no quotes at this point. What I'm doing now is I'm criticizing and evaluating. This is not inference now where I'm explaining. I'm now judging. So all of the explain was in my paragraphs beforehand. Now I'm judging. So I've got my yellow words here, which are leading me into my judgmental phrases. I can write this in any way. Some teachers give you sentence starters. Use them if they're easy for you. You can reword them if you want, but what you want to be doing is criticizing. So across the play, Priestley creates several moments where Mrs. Birling is given a chance to be a good, wholesome person. And at each of these points, she fails. She fails to listen to Sheila. She fails to listen to Eric. She fails to correct her husband. She fails in her charity work. She fails as a mother. What is frightening for the reader is how determined she is to not change and to not listen and to not improve. Thankfully, Priestley passes that power on to Sheila, and from the very first act shows how capable Sheila is of being morally good and fair, which gives the play a sense of brittle hope for the future. Now notice I've still got my purple. And why am I doing that? Just because when you use your own metaphors to explain, it shows that you understand it. What I could have done is I could have gone right back to my introduction, and I could have taken the idea of Mrs. Birling being a brick wall. There it is. And in my conclusion, I could have just repeated it, a lot like a circular narrative, where what you say in the introduction, you echo in the conclusion or somewhere toward the end. I could have said she's a brick wall, but I wanted to add the idea quite simply of the failure. And I thought the repetition of all the way she fails was probably going to get me more marks because I'm adding more detail, but I'm dooming her as a role model. There's so many ways you can do this, but you can hear that I'm being very critical of her, not being rude about her. That's different. Critical assessment is when you judge something fairly using the facts. And these are facts. These are absolute facts. So that's how short it could be. It could be even shorter if you wanted. But for me, I understood what I was writing, so that for me wasn't too long, particularly because I didn't write an additional paragraph. I didn't write a third paragraph, which means I can write a little longer conclusion. So judge your energy level as well at this point, because the third paragraph very much is going to be down to how quick you write, how many ideas you have, this one here. So again, we've got a lot of things we could say for an additional paragraph. We could talk about any symbols, like disinfectant as a symbol. I mean, it's very clear that Mrs. Birling has got some rotten ideas that she's inherited from society, and that needs to be removed from her. And because she's so stubborn, she'll have to be probably punished. There must be some degree of suffering, likely because she's just not listening. I could have done a whole additional paragraph on just how childish the parents are, because as a central message, it's extremely embarrassing. And that would have really pushed my mark up into the higher levels, because I'm stepping away from the single words on a page, and I'm looking at the overall. I'm looking at parents versus children and how they're the wrong way around. I could also look in terms of power and weakness. I can write about women, because Mrs. Birling is a woman, and she's supposed to protect other women, just as a general rule of life, girl power, stand up for women, all that. And she doesn't. A little bit like Lady Macbeth, she steps into power and it corrodes her, it corrupts her, to the point where she does not even she doesn't show remorse necessarily for her grandchild. So it's quite brutal, quite brutal.